Hey everyone, it's Emmy. Today I'm going to be filming a review video on these DB Cosmetics brushes, the Melodrama set. I got these for Mother's Day and this is the first time that I'm using them, so I've had them for a while, but I've been meaning to film this video and then I just kept forgetting. So I'm doing it today, so I'm finally going to get to use these brushes. I've heard very good things about them, but I want to test them for myself and just see. So it just comes in a box like this, and then it has all the brushes that you get in the set on the back. It also comes with a like lavender little brush case. I love this thing, it's so cute. And that's just got one of those magnetic clasps. So you just undo that, open it up. So that's the set that you get. So there's a pretty good selection of eye brushes and face brushes, I feel like. There's definitely enough to do a whole face, so that's good. So I'll just take these out of their plastic and we'll have a look at what they are. All right, so to start off with, we have so I'm just looking at the back of the box to help me. So we have the foundation buffing brush, which is just this one. So these are quite short in the handle, which I actually don't mind because I tend to hold my brushes really low on the barrel. So this is meant to be the foundation brush. It's probably a little more kind of flimsy than what I would normally use for a foundation brush, but it might work fine. I feel like it might leave streaking, but it is very soft. The bristles are really nice and soft. So I don't know if it's going to show up, but the handle is just like a really glittery nude, like metallic-y nude pink color. It's nice. It's not really my kind of style, but it's pretty, I guess. And then the end of the bristles isn't like white. I think it's meant to be this same nude color, which kind of looks like the brushes are dirty. So that's interesting that they chose to go with that, I guess. But yeah, so that's the foundation buffing brush. And then there's oh wait, it's that. So it also has the name written on the brush. You're probably not going to be able to see it because it's metallic, so it's just going to like bounce the light back. So this is the powder blush brush. Again, quite like, there's a little fallen hair. Quite flimsy, not flimsy, but like just not densely packed. I know it's just just pulling a few stray hairs out. So there might be a little bit of, okay, there's like a lot of shedding from this brush, but hopefully that won't happen while I'm doing my makeup. So yeah, this is the large powder brush / blush brush. I would really like this for bronzing actually, because it is quite floppy. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, this would be a really good bronzer brush or blush. I probably wouldn't use it for powder, but I don't really set my face with powder, so that's just me. Then we have the angled contour brush and the tapered powder brush. So they're quite densely packed, more so than the two other powder brushes and the foundation brush. So honestly, I would probably use this one for foundation more than the flat top brush. And then like, I feel like these two would be really good for cream products as well. But yeah, so that's them. Then we have the eye brushes. So we have the Deluxe Crease Brush, which is kind of more like a not flat eyeshadow brush, it's like a fluffy kind of paddly brush. It almost looks like it has an angle to it, so I don't know if that's meant to be angled, but it's not super angled, I don't know. And then this is the eyeshadow blending brush. So it's just a round, fluffy kind of brush. I kind of wish it was a little bit fluffier, but I do like that it's not super big like my BYS brush. It's kind of that in-between size that I've really been looking for. So I'm happy with that, and it's not so super dense, so hopefully that is good for blending. And then there's the eyeshadow brush, just like a flat eyeshadow brush, paddle brush, I guess. So this is very densely packed, so this would be good for cream products like concealer, eyeshadow primer, cream eyeshadows, that kind of thing. So I have the brow brush. It just has a angled brush on one end and then a spoolie on the other. The spoolie looks a bit mangled. It just doesn't have that like normal kind of spiral to it. It's a bit, I don't know, funny looking. And then the brow brush is quite, I don't think you're gonna be able to see it, but it's quite like thick. I would probably want something a little more like narrow, kind of like that for my brows, rather than like that, just so I can get like the detail on the end. And then there's also a liner brush, which I actually really like this. You don't get a lot of these in kits, or when you do, it's that really, let me see if I have one. So I really like that they have this liner brush, because usually I only have a paintbrush with me that's the shape that I want to show. So usually you get one that's like this shape in a brush kit, whereas this one is just a small angled brush. So I really like that this is such a small angled brush, and if you really wanted to, you could use this for your eyebrows instead of using this end. So it's nice that they have the two angled brushes in there, and these are really densely packed as well, which is great for cream products if you're using cream to do your eyebrows and stuff. But yeah, so I really like those. And then there's the fan or highlighter brush, and that's quite, it's funny, it's like really dense here, and then it kind of fans out to be way thinner. I don't know, all my other highlighting brushes that are like this are quite consistent throughout. And then the bristles are quite long, I feel like, but they're nice and soft, which could be good if you want a really light highlight. But to be honest, I'll probably more use the denser angled brush for a highlighter, just because I like my highlighter to be quite strong. But yeah, let's get into using these on my face. So I'm going to start with eyes first. So I'll just be using the eye brushes. And I think I'm going to do like a purple kind of smoky eye. So I'm going to need to do a lot of blending. Probably not much like detailed crease work, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to take my Essence Camouflage Concealer, and I'm just going to roll that on the back of my hand. Just go in with the flat eyeshadow brush and just put that on my lid. All right, I'm actually going to zoom you in because you're not going to be able to see anything I'm doing right now. I mean, I know I've only put concealer down, I haven't done anything special, but it hasn't left any streaks like I was expecting it to, so that's nice at least. Good for cream products. All right, and then I'm just going to take the Deluxe Crease Brush, or just the kind of fluffier angled but not angled brush. And I'm just going to go into the Chi Chi Lady Entrepreneur eyeshadow and just take a pale shade just to set my brow bone down to my crease. I'm just going to tap that on top of the concealer. So I'm probably not going to go into all the colors that I'm using today. So I'm just going to tell you what palettes I'm using. So I am just going to be using the Lady Entrepreneur palette from Chi Chi, which is just this one, and the Chi Chi Freedom eyeshadow collection, which is just this big one. And I'm going to be doing like I think a purple smoky eye, but we'll see, I might change my mind. So to put color in my crease, I will use this brush just because it's labeled as a crease brush. So I'm just going to take a color out of the Lady Entrepreneur palette and just take that into my crease. So the colours I've put down so far have blended beautifully. Again, don't know if it's the brush or the product. I mean, I know these eyeshadows blend great anyway, but the brush is working for what I want it to do. So I'm just going to go in with a deeper colour now on the eyeshadow blending brush and just put that on the corner. I am going to go quite dark with this look, so this is all just transition work at the moment. Just trying to get that purple in there. So you can see, like, it's blended beautifully. It's blending fine. And that's exactly what this brush is for. So it's doing its job. If anything, my one critique on this brush would be that because it is a little bit, I don't want to say flimsy. It's not flimsy. Like, these brushes aren't, you know, falling apart or anything. But the bristles are just like not as, like, it's not like my Chi Chi brush where it's quite dense. These are quite loosely packed, and you know, there's not as many bristles in this brush as there is in this brush. So I think that being the case, it's just not picking up as much product as I kind of want, but it's not an issue. Like, you just have to go into your eyeshadow a few more times. The product is building back up fine, and if anything, it would be good for beginners who maybe don't want to go in with too much product. I'm just going to go back into the Deluxe Crease brush and take an even darker color to put in my crease. And I'm just going to use this kind of on its side because it is that kind of flat style. And I'm just going to use that to really focus this darker purple right in my crease. I do actually really like the shape of this one for crease work, so. All right, so I feel like that's a pretty good gradient. Here comes the fun part. So I'm going to use this Deluxe Crease brush again, and I'm actually just going to go into a straight black from the Freedom palette and just pack that all over the lid. If there's one color that Chi Chi does very well and has always done well, it's black. I remember my sister had one of their old palettes that used to have 6 eyeshadows in them. I can't remember. It's like a rectangular kind of box thing, and used to open the top and it would have the eyeshadows, and then if you pulled the eyeshadows, they like slid out. It would have the mirror and then I think the brushes under there as well. And there was one palette from them, from that range, that I think was just blacks and silvers. And I only got rid of that recently, which is bad because those eyeshadows were so old. But the black in that was so amazing. I used it for years because it was the best black I could get, you know, in buying cheap eyeshadows and stuff. And that's why I kept it, because the black was just so good. It was so pigmented and it blended out so well. So I would use it all the time. I used it for my eyebrows, Used it for eyeliner. I used it for, just eyeshadow. I used it for everything. Such a good eyeshadow. And all of the blacks in these new palettes that they've brought out are just as good as that. So go Chi Chi on probably having the best black on the market, to be honest. Like, I haven't used another black that's been this good. Cool. And then I'm just going to take the blender brush and just go over the edges with that. Make sure everything is nicely blended. So I'm just going to take the NYX pigment primer, and I'm going to take the eyeshadow brush that I used to put the concealer on my lid, and I'm just going to pick up some of that primer and put it, I want to go all over my lid. And then I'm just going to take the Deluxe crease brush and go into, there's like a pressed kind of glittery shade in the Freedom palette. You'll see in just a second. I'm just going to press that on. Cool, and then I'm going to take the Chi Chi brow pomade in taupe, and I will use the brow brush. I personally feel like it might be too big, but we will see. Let me get a mirror so I can actually see what I'm doing. Picks up a lot of product. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but yeah, like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to get that sharp edge that I want on the end. You can see how the end is quite thick. It's not really what I want for my brows, but the spoolie is actually quite nice. It's quite dense, I guess, so it really does brush the product through. Alright, so the foundation I'm going to use is the same foundation mix that was in my last video. So I'm going to use the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop mixed with the Infallible Pro Glow from L'Oreal and my Australis mixing drops, which I just realised are not on... Oh no, they're right in front of me. And the Australis Matchmaker drops. I definitely need to buy more of the Australis Matchmaker drops because I'm almost out. Alright, so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use brushes for their intended purpose. So to apply my foundation, I am going to use the foundation buffer brush. Just gonna dip it in and buff it on. So as I said before, the bristles of the brush are very soft, so it's nice. Using stippling motions, it's not leaving any brush strokes, which is good, but definitely no, seems pretty alright. It's good that the bristles are kind of more flexible so that going between, I have quite a small space from my hairline and my eyebrow, so I actually do have the freedom to kind of pinch this brush to fit it in that space quite nicely. So I'm not getting foundation like right in my hair or ruining the eyebrows I just did. So that's nice. Also getting up under my eyes as well, I can just pinch it and maneuver the brush however I need to. I will zoom you in to look at the foundation, but just keep in mind, like, my skin at the moment, I am sick, so my skin is very dry but also oily at the same time. It's not on its best behavior, so the foundation doesn't look as good as it normally does, But it really is just because my skin is just not in a good place right now because I have some weird cold flu thing. I don't know what it is that's wrong with me. I had like a cold for like 4 weeks where I was just like dry coughing, and then now all of a sudden I just have this congested nose and like phlegmy throat, and this ear is like partially filled behind the eardrum with liquid, so I'm like also partially deaf. I'm going through it, alright. Wow, I'm so surprised at how this looks on my nose. It actually looks really good. For just using a brush, it's turned out so well on my nose. That never happens. My nose like hates product. So I'm just going to zoom you in and we'll look at the texture of the foundation on my skin from putting it on with the brush. I actually think it looks really good, but again, just keep in mind that I am sick. My skin is dry and just gross at the moment. So it does look a bit cakey in some places, but it's not cakey, it's just dry skin underneath. And I did moisturize with my simple moisturizer before I put makeup on, but again, it's just I'm sick, so my body's just hating me right now. All right, so I'm zoomed in as much as I can go. I'm also kind of leaning up on the table a bit, but you can just see, like, look at how nice it looks on my nose. I never get this from a brush. I always have to go over my nose with a sponge. I'm actually really surprised at how well that brush performed on my nose. But I really think it was that stippling motion. It's a very good stippling brush. Like there's no streaks, nothing. And I really thought it would be super streaky because of the bristles being so fine, not as densely packed, but yeah, it actually looks really good. So I actually really like that, and I don't use brushes for my foundation very often. I'm really big fan of the sponge, so good-o. Alright, so now I guess I'm going to powder. Again, I don't usually powder, but just for the sake of using these brushes for what they're intended, I am going to powder, and I'm just going to use the RCMA No Color Powder. This is what I use in my kit on clients. It's a very good setting powder. It's very matte, so if you want more of a dewier finish, definitely don't use this powder. That is what I've been preferring recently, but again, I'll just deal with it. So I'm just going to use the powder brush. Whew, that does not look good around my nose. And this is why I haven't been setting my foundation, because not only because the foundation that I use really doesn't need it, but also just because I've just been so dry. That's all good. Can't really go wrong with a powder brush, I feel like. So this one was a powder and blush. This is really big for a blush brush. I don't know if I would use that for blush. So next would be bronzer. I don't really have a set bronze. Oh, they have the tapered powder brush. I could have used this under my eyes. They don't really have a set bronzer brush, so I guess I'll use this one. And I'm just gonna use my new bronzer. Finally got a new one. This is the Australis Sweet Like Chocolate Scented Bronzer. This is new, fairly new. It's been out for a while, but I haven't tried it. It smells like, oh no, put it on my nose. It has a hint of chocolate. Like, it smells like the cheap chocolate scented wax you can get from Spotlight. So it kind of smells like cheap Easter chocolate and also shit. This is the lightest color that they have at the moment. As you can tell, it's quite dark. This is the bronzer that I just destroyed the packaging for this, but that's how old it is. That the packaging on my other bronzer just fell apart because it's so old. So this is the bronzer that I was using. This is the Australis one. So you can tell they're very, very different colors. If anything, I would say that this one is a little bit too red for me. So it's not the best, but it was honestly the best shade that they had at Priceline. So I feel like Australis needs to bring out at least 2 more lighter shades, because all of the bronzers were quite dark. I do, however, like that this has a magnetic close. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna bronze with this. Oh. This brush is shedding a little bit, but honestly, it's a new brush. I kind of expect new brushes to shed a bit, just because there will be loose fibers from the factory and, you know, ones that just didn't stick in the glue. So I'm not upset about the shedding. If it continues, it'll be a bit annoying, but like I've had other brushes, like I've had Morphe brushes shed, so I'm not super stressed about the shedding. The shade isn't too bad. I just kind of wish it was a bit lighter so I didn't have to be so careful with it. All right, that just gives that definition. I might just go on my chin a little bit too. Oh, more shedding. It's actually quite a bit of shedding I'm getting from this brush. A little bit more than I would have expected. All right, so that's a powder brush. I like it. It actually did blend out the bronzer quite nicely, and because it was so floppy, I wasn't able to go too heavy-handed with the bronzer, so for that particular bronzer is quite good. I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm going to go into, I guess, the angled brush for contouring, which I don't usually use an angled brush like this, but whatever. And I'm just going to go into the NYX blush in Taupe. Because this is so dense, I'm actually kind of worried about going too heavy-handed with it. And just... So now I'm going to go into blush. I am just going to use this brush because the other brush is just too big for how I like doing my blush. I'm just going to dab that in. Again, because this brush is so dense, I'm terrified I'm going to go too heavy-handed. Highlight now with the big fan brush, and I'm just going to use the Mary Luminizer by The Balm and just grab that. Actually picked up quite a lot of product. Ooh, girl. That was unexpected. All right, well that was a surprise. So the highlight looks fucking great. All right, camera is flashing at me, so I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I'll come back and do a final wrap up of my first impressions and what I think of the brushes. So I'll be back in a second. So I've just finished doing my makeup, so I just did the bottom lash line, mascara on, and then I went in with the Kiss blowout lashes in Page Boy, I think is what they're called. Yeah, that's about it. So my final thoughts on these DB brushes. So these are $20 to $39, $29 to $39. I can't actually remember how much I paid for them, but that's a really good price for brushes in Australia, and especially these ones being vegan and not tested on animals, so I guess cruelty-free. So these bristles, I would assume, are completely synthetic. And yeah, I really like this set. I feel like it's got every brush that you need. To do my lower lash line, I did just go in with the Deluxe Crease Brush, and I found that this was really good to get under my lashes and right up against my lash line, waterline, I don't know. yeah, so this was actually really nice under there. The bristles aren't scratchy or anything, so it didn't irritate my eyes at all. This brush I just used to kind of get the eyeshadow quite close to under my eyes. This was a bit scratchy, but it is an eyeliner brush, so if you were using it with cream product, it wouldn't be as aggressive, I guess. But I was just using powder, so it was a bit scratchy on my lashes. And then this brush was the perfect size to really get in my inner corner for highlight and get under my brow bone with the highlight as well. I was very surprised with how the highlighter brush performed. I was not expecting it to pick up much product and put it down so nicely, but I guess because it is quite dense in the center, it really does pick up product, and then the ends being a little bit less dense really help blend it out. So my highlight is just as good as I like it to be every day. I didn't get to use this brush, but from using the other ones, it's a pretty standard powder brush. It's quite dense, so this would probably be good for foundation as well. If you really like to buff foundation, it would be great with cream products. And this brush surprisingly was really good for my contour and my blush. I feel like it really blended things out quite nicely, and while it's denser, it wasn't too dense. Again, this would be great for cream product. But yeah, that performed really nicely. One thing I have noticed is that this brush has a much longer handle than every other brush. I don't know if that's a mistake, if I got a dodgy one, or if that's the same in all of these kits, but I just find that quite strange that that one is so much taller than all the others. The foundation brush, like I said, worked a lot better than I thought it would. And again, it's quite easy to manipulate it to get it into smaller areas. It really blended out the foundation quite nicely, didn't leave any streaks, and was great for stippling. And then the powder brush, it's a powder brush, it was great for powder. Again, it's flexible enough that you can manipulate it to get it under your eyes or in small areas. It was great for bronzing. So yeah, I overall am really happy with these brushes. I really do recommend them. They're quite nice. And also the case is very nice. It doesn't feel cheap or flimsy. It's just like a synthetic kind of leather, I guess, feel. Yeah, it's very nice. It kind of smells a bit funky, but it's not an overpowering funky smell. It just has that synthetic kind of smell to it. But you know, the magnetic closure is quite good. So all in all, I really like these brushes. I think they're great for the price, vegan, cruelty-free. It's an Australian brand. I always like supporting Australian brands. So yeah, these are available in Australia and New Zealand, I'm pretty sure. Couldn't tell you where to get them in New Zealand, but in Australia, DB is usually found in chemists. So you can get DB from Amcal, Terry White. Don't think you can get it from Chemist Warehouse. But yeah, pretty much just like any kind of chemist, really. They're pretty much everywhere. And then again, you can get them on their website. So definitely, if you're interested in some decent brushes for a decent price, check them out. Yeah, they're really good. I'm pleasantly surprised, because I've seen other people use them and say that they were good, but I honestly didn't know what to think. And I'm very pleasantly surprised. They really worked really well, and I actually really like them. So yeah, that's this video done. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would love to have you here. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see any more looks or client makeup that I've done recently. I recently did my first bridal makeup, so that's on my Instagram page at the moment. So I will see you in my next one.